Bourbon or Scotch? The age-old question is going to last for eternity, but I like both, so I'm going to answer that question today. You hear the arguments all the time. Bourbon's better, no, Scotch is better, Scotch tastes like dirt, bourbon's too expensive, bourbon's too allocated. You know what? Sick of it. So today, I have a $100 bourbon and a $100 Scotch. I'm going to smell them both, I'm going to drink them both, compare the finishes, and I'm going to figure out which one I like today. Now, I enjoy both Scotch and bourbon, so it doesn't mean that I think one's better than the other, but I do go through some mood swings on my whiskey. That's why I have a lot on my shelves. So I'm going to figure out what my nose and mouth likes more today. The bourbon today is Old Forester Single Barrel Strength, an allocated bottle, kind of hard to find. This is 64.85% alcohol, 129.7 proof. And you know me, I love my Old Forester, and this one is just phenomenal. Probably my favorite Old Forester ever. Got it at the store pick, thank gosh, $100, and it is just packed full of flavor. My Scotch today is Aberlour A'Bunadh, a speyside Oloroso Sherry cask strength Scotch, 60.9% alcohol, no age statement. Now, I've talked about Aberlour a bunch, and this thing is very good. It is a very sweet orange punch in the face. I love it. It is full of flavor and very good. I'm going to start by nosing the Aberlour. You get that nice ethanol punch. It's 61% alcohol, so it's gonna happen. Very, very fruity, very orangey, and you get that like speyside cereal vibe there, but it's an extremely strong orange note way over top of the rest of that. And it's honestly like an alcoholic orange juice. It is so citrusy, and once you get down in, the Oloroso really shines. Caramel, maple syrup, some figs, a little bit of tannins in there. It's just really good, full of flavor. I really enjoy cask strength scotches, and I'm not a massive fan of speyside scotches, but Aberlour A'Bunadh has always spoke to me very well. This thing is very good. Okay, Old Forester Single Barrel's turn. You know, kind of a less ethanol punch, even though it is about 4% more alcohol than the Aberlour, but it's extremely rich. As always, you get the, again, caramel, the brown sugars, but specifically with this, if you can check the color out, this is a very viscous whiskey. It's thicker than the Aberlour, and I always get those really syrupy, cherry, strawberry notes when I get to these like super barrel strength bourbons. It's very oak influenced. It has a little bit of a good rye spice in there. You get the cinnamon, a little bit of the pepper. Actually, a little grape soda and some bananas. I know that sounds weird, but this thing's opening up for me really nicely. Both of these whiskeys are extremely fruity, which is kind of weird to think about when you think about a bourbon, but I always get a kind of a dark red, like plummy cherry when I get to those Old Foresters, and this one's no different. Both of these are very good noses. Old Forester or Aberlour for the nose. You know what? This is a very hard decision, so I'm going to go back to each one. This one's the Old Forester, and this one's the Aberlour. Now, I don't know if it was because I went from one whiskey back to the Aberlour, but I just got an absurdly sweet, like a chocolate-covered raisin vibes from this right now, the Aberlour. Oh my goodness, that is what I would call a decadent nose. That Oloroso Sherry really shines through. The Old Forester is still very good, but actually now that I've had more and gone back and forth, it's a little more punchy with the ethanol bite on the nose than the Aberlour is. So because of that really amazing raisinette, chocolate raisins, the sweet character coming through the Aberlour, I'm going to pick the nose winner as being the Aberlour here. So Scotch wins the nose category just for today. I'm going to start with the tasting on the Aberlour. I think if I started with the Old Forester, it would be a little too robust for the Aberlour to come through second. So let's see what this is. Oh man, no age statement, 61% alcohol, very medium bodied, very peppery, very punchy. But after those initial few punches come through, it settles into a really powerful orange maple syrup, plums, raisins, cereal That layers very nicely and it just warms your entire body. Cask strength scotches do hit hard, and sometimes they hit harder than some of the bourbons. I have not had a sip of this in a long time, and I forgot just how powerful this thing truly is. So let's take a second sip here. Just orange juice. Sweet, nectar, honey. It is actually thicker body than I thought it was. It's getting very viscous right now. Getting stuck in the throat. I'm enjoying that a lot. So how will it stack up against the bourbon? Okay, bourbon time. Immediately washed away all the Aberlour. In fact, I think this is 4% more alcohol than the Aberlour. It actually went down smoother. Less of an upfront punch, less pepper, and there actually is rye in this mash bill. It just kind of went down smoother. It's, as I said in the nose, I was saying this was thicker bodied. I don't think it is. I think the Aberlour is more viscous than this one is, and this has a lot of a smoother profile. A lot of the flavors in here blend together and layer really nicely, whereas with the Aberlour, you get a lot of different ones that pop out. That's not a bad thing at all, but there is something to be said about having flavors that combine and make a really nice experience. So with the brown sugar, maraschino cherries, caramel, cinnamon, the oak on the Old Forester, those all blend really, really nicely. And it's not too sweet. I think some of the aspects of the Aberlour bring a little bit of a too sweet vibe, and that's good in some days, but for now, I don't think I'm into that as far as the mouth goes. My nose loved it. So let's see what the second sip is. Much more fruit. Much smoother there too. That first sip was, again, it's the first sips are always a little tough, a little poppy, but this one was super smooth and super rich. Laying that on the tongue really, really nicely, and I'm really enjoying this right now. So let's decide which one wins the palate. All right, one final sip to decide who wins palate. That was the Old Forester. And back to Aberlour. Man, I tell you, this is actually a very hard decision for me. I do enjoy both bourbon and scotches, but again, as I said, I go through mood swings. It's like music. I love a lot of music, but sometimes I have this genre, sometimes I get that genre. Today, I think it's a scotch day. That third sip of the Aberlour was so much better than the first two. I don't know if it's because of going back and forth each time, but man, something about that third sip there was much more balanced, much more sweet, much more fruity, and much more smooth. And it might have been because I just had a 65% alcohol bourbon, but this is 61, so who really cares? So I think I'm going to give the palate to the Aberlour. So that's 2 out of the first 2 categories. Let's go to the finish. Now the finish is weird. We're drinking whiskey back to back. However, I took a little bit of time between sipping the Aberlour and between sipping the Old Forester. And I'm gonna say, the Aberlour finish was, I'm gonna say, just a little harsh, and it was very, very warm and long lasting, but I don't think it had good aspects as far as pulling flavors off. Fast forward over to the Old Forester, between my second Old Forester sip and my third was a good bit of time. And that finish was sweet, long lasting, smooth, able to pull off those really nice cherry, vanilla, baking spice notes, and it was really enjoyable. Not to say that the Aberlour wasn't enjoyable, but I think if you had to compare it to the Old Forester wins. I think the extra 4% really helps it layer on a little thicker, dig its teeth in, and I think it has a better balanced profile. So because of that, I think I'm going to give the finish winner to the Old Forester. Well, the results are in, and it looks like today I prefer my $100 scotch. That is not to say I don't like this $100 bourbon, because I love this thing and it's very good. I don't like the bourbon versus scotch debate. I think both are great in their own right. They both have their places, they both serve different purposes, and I think it's best to enjoy both. And who knows, if I do a video like this in the future, I will probably pick the bourbon. I go through so many mood swings. Today, my Aberlour won against the Old Forester. Again, I don't think that scotch is better than bourbon, or the bourbon is better than scotch. Today, scotch wins. Tomorrow, bourbon could win. And as always, like this video, give it a like. Want to support me? Subscribe. It's the best way to do it. That way you get this video and others like it every Wednesday. But until then, see you next time, and cheers.